Consider, for a moment, the architecture of a great tree, in the depths of the forest where the silence is heavy and the light is dappled. The oak and the redwood rise with a singular, white arthur. These are not lean against their neighbors for supper. These are not twist themselves into cots, hoping to catch a stray beam of a prow from the sun. They simply stand. Their steadiness is not a negotiation with the thrust about them had intrinsic fact of their existence, rooted deep in the dark, silent earth. Now, contrast this with the modern human spirit, which so often feels less like a mighty oak and more like a vine frantically searching for a trellis, a wall, or an arrangement to hold it upright. We live in a world that has conditioned us to believe that standing alone is a form of danger, and that reliance is a form of safety. But the ancient laws of nature suggest a vision truth that nothing can reach high if it is afraid to stand tall. Now, let us explore the profound wisdom found not in adding more, but in letting go. The journey begins here, in the ordinary world of our daily experience, a world that is often characterized by a subtle, vibrating frequency of intensity. If we look closely at the texture of our minds, we often find a pervasive sense of insufficiency. It is the quiet, nagging symptom that we are not quite enough on our own, that we are missing some essential component that can only be provided by the word tide of us. We are like travelers who have packed our bags for a great expedition but are terrified to take the first step until someone else gives permission. This is the condition of the leaning mind. The leaning mind is a mind that has forgotten its own center of gravity. It is an artificial structure that has been designed, quite unconsciously, to depend on external buttresses. We lean on the opinions of others to tell us how we are. We lean on the validation of our peers to tell us we are successful. We lean on the confirming noise of society to tell us that we are not alone, and why there is nothing wrong with community or love or connection. These are the fruits of life with a rough for filth and difference when sharing your shape with their stomachs and worse now told hoffers and chained. When we operate from this posture of leaning, we compromise our structural integrity. Just as a building designed to lean agents enter will collapse if its neighbor is removed, a person's house identity is constructed on the foundation of interval addition of the foundation. This instability manifests as a level panic, a constant scanning of the horizon for threats to our support system. We become hypervigilant, obsessed with how we are perceived, terrified of the why because we have not our rules. We ask, explicitly or implicitly, am I doing this right? Is this acceptable? You agree with me. We outsource our authority, handing over the keys to our own well-being to people who are often just as lost as us as we are. This is the great paradox of our modern struggle. We are desperate to accomplish great things, to leave a mark, to find peace. Yet we atomize to so why fundamentally distrusting the verb We are trying to sail a ship like convinced that the hull is full of holes, so we spend all our time building waiter and asking about ships to Taoist as rubber 10 learning to navigate. The societal narrative reinforces this fragility. From early stages, we are graded, ranted, and assessed. We are taught the witness is anything that is bestowed upon us by a teacher, a parent, a boss, or a cultural trend. We learn to look outward for the compass points of our lives. We become experts in adaptation, shifting our shapes to fit the containers that is prof. We become fluid, pot in the way weather is fluid. We become formless, taking on the rigidity of our containers, become floors, past to crush of reins for palm. This is the vine mentality. The vine can climb high, certainly, but only as long as the wool remains standing. If the wool crumbles, the vine falls with it, a tangled mess on the forest floor. But the tree knows a different secret. The tree understands this: to reach the canopy, to touch the sky and drink the unfolded sunlight, it must first commit to the solitude its own chung. It must bear its own weight. This is not a burden, it is the prerequisite for growth. The anxiety we feel, the exhaustion of constantly matching our image and securing our alliances, is simply the strain of trying to buy gravity well in sour December. It is the fatigue of the actor who never leaves the stage, who is constantly performing for an audience, terrified that if the fake held pause stops, he will cease to exist. We must recognize that this reliance on the external is a form of sleep. We are asked look to our own nature. We dream that we are fragments, shards of glass needing to be glued together, when in reality, we are the whole window. The anxiety of the ordinary world is the nightmare of this fragmentation. We run from relationship to relationship, from achievement to achievement, seeking the thing that will finally make us sturdy. If I just get this promotion, we think, then it will be solid. If I just find the right partner, then I will be complete. But these are illusions. You cannot build a stone fortress on a foundation of clouds. As long as the sense of self is derived from that which can be taken away, we will live in fear. The great things we wish to accomplish, whether they are works of art, acts of leadership, or simply the cultivation of a peaceful mind, need to be born from this mixture sto opportunity. A great work rears a singular vision. It requires the ability to walk a path that has not yet been paved. If you are leaning on the consensus of the crowd, you can only go where the crowd has already been. You can only echo the sounds that are already filling the air. To say something new, to do something true, you must speak from a place that is entirely your own. This is the struggle of the hero in the first act of our journey. We are standing at the edge of the forest, looking at the giants and feeling small. We feel the wind blowing and we clutch at the nearest shrub for balance. We are afraid of the verticality of our own spine. We have been sitting for so long hunched over the approval of others that we have forgotten how to stand up. We fear that if we stand straight, we will be toppled. But the opposite is true. It is only by standing straight, by aligning our center with gravity, by owning our mess and matter, that we become immovable. The pain we feel, the anxiety, the hesitation, the imposter syndrome is not a sign that we are broken. It is a sign that we are miserable. We are trying to defy the physics of the soul. We are trying to build a life on borrowed land. And the landlord is coming to collect rent in the form of our peace of mind. We are exhausted not because the work of life is hard, but because we are carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations on our back, thinking it's our missile. It is time to put the weight down. It is time to look at the tree and understand the physics of its science. It does not ask for permission to grow. It simply grows. And in that simple, solitary act, it finds the strength to weather any storm. This is the invitation of our despair, to stop looking for a hand to hold, and to realize that your and 2 feet are capable of bearing the weight of your assistance. But here we encounter the threshold, the point where the philosophical path becomes steep and air grows thin. It is easy to nod in agreement with the idea of self-reliance while sitting comfortably in a chair is an entirely different sterile practices, which are practice it went temper. To move from the leaning mind to the staining mind is not merely a change of habit, it is a fundamental restructuring of how we wait to well it itself. And the first thing we encounter when we attempt to stand straight is fear. When we pull back from the supports we have relied upon, and when we stop asking for validation, when we stop checking the rearview mirror of other people's happens missions, we immediately convert to a vast missional edifice. This silence can feel terrifying. To the mind trained in dependency, this silence feels like abandonment, and it feels light, the cold vacuum of space. We have spent so long defining ourselves by our coordinates relatives to others. Navasan, I am an employee, I am a partner of the way, toes a rough timid. When we finish, we ask if I'm not leaning on this definition, though I assist at all. This is the dark night of the soul that exits any true greatness. It is the moment the sapling realizes it is no longer a seed protected by the earth, but a sprout exposed to the wine. To stand straight means to accept the full weight of your own consistency. It means realizing that there is no safety net of consensus real that can catch you if you fall. And this, precisely, is where the work begins. We must understand that relying on a self is not a social act of isolation, it is a structural act of intercalate. Let us return to the tree. A tree does not reject the forest. It does not say, I have no need of the rain or the soil or the birds. It interacts with all of them deeply. Beneath this is the crucial distinction. It does not ask the bird to hold up its branches. It does not ask the rain to define its shape. Its relationship with the world is one of exchange, not dependency. Most of us, however, confuse connection with attachment. We believe that to be close to someone or something, we must lean on them. We attack our emotional stability to their behavior. If the stock market goes up, we are happy if our partner smiles. We are safe if the audience claps. We are worthy. This is the life of a puppet, dancing only when the strings are pulled. To accomplish great things, which is to say, to bring forth something that is uniquely light if a strings cut the string, you must learn to move from your own center. This requires us to develop a vertical consciousness. Most of the world lives horizontally. We look side to side, comparing our pace with the runner next to us. We mimic the forms we see, but the tree lies vertically. Its primary relationship is not with our trees, but with the earth below and the sky above. It rolls its energy up and down. To rely on yourself is to establish this vertical axis. It means you stop looking sideways for permission and start looking inward for truth. This is where the concept of roots becomes more than a poetic image. It becomes acidic, wet or rose. Here, the part of the trees to go into the dark, A dig into the unseen, the called, the compressed earth. For a human being, to aphoros means to have a deep, unshakable relationship with your nature, including the parts of yourself that are not pied, more than natured, and not waiting for bliss. The reason we lean on ours is often because we are afraid of what we find when we are alone with ours. We fear our own boredom, our own strange thoughts, our own potential for failure. So we borrow a personality. We borrow a path. We see someone who has achieved greatness and we try to walk in the footprints. But this is the ultimate futility. You cannot walk someone else's path because the path is not a line on the ground. The path is generated by our own walking. As the Spanish poet Antonio Machado wrote, "Walker, there is no path. The path is made by walking. If you are following, you are not walking, you're sleepwalking. To accomplish great things, one must be an origin, not an echo. An echo can only repeat what has already been said, perhaps quieter and more distant. An origin speaks the first word. But to speak the word, you must trust your own voice. And to trust your own voice, you must silence the chore voice you have internalized, the teacher who said you weren't good and knows, the parent who said you should be practical, the culture that says you must be famous." This brings us to the difficult truth, our greatness. We often think of greatness as a summit we climb to, a trophy we seize. But in the natural world, greatness is simply the result of unlimited help. Zion's sequoia is not trying to be great. It is not stressing over its height. It is simply being a sequoia without reservation. It does not waste energy trying to be a rosebush. It channels all its life force into its own specific design. When we rely on others, we are usually trying to be what they want us to be. We warp our own design, twist our tongue to fit the available light of someone else's approval. This twisting cuts off the flow of our own sound. We become stunted, gwenolid versions of ourselves. We may achieve a modicum of success, a polite place, but we will never achieve the effortless majesty of a bang, a syphily elving dis as fully elling. The struggle of the second act, then, is the struggle to unwist. It is the physical and mental tension of realignment. When you decide to stand straight, you will feel the muscles of your soul age. You are using parts of your psyche that have been atrophied for years. You will feel the urge to call a friend, to complain, to seek reassurance, to find a distraction. This is the moment of the trial. This is the fire. If you can sit with the urge, if you can feel the wobble and not grab for the wall, you are building the structural capacity for greatness. You are learning that your own judgment is valid. You are learning that your own perception of reality is the only place you can ever lie. To rely on yourself means to accept that you are the final authority on your own leg. This is a heavy crown to wear. It means you can no longer blame your parents, your society, or your bad luck. If you are the tree, you are responsible for your own growth. If you wither, it is your drought. If you thrive, it is your rain. This acceptance of total responsibility is the gateway to freedom. As long as you believe your stability comes from the outside, you are a victim of circumstance. The moment you realize your stability comes from your element, you become the master of your world. You realize that sturdiness is not a wall that protects you, it is a spine that upholds you. Consider the great innovators, the artists, the seas. Did they wait for a committee to approve their vision? Did they conduct a poll to see if their truth was popular? No, they relied on an internal compass that often pointed in the exact opposite direction of the crowd. They stood straight when the world told them to bend. They were starting not because they were stubborn, but because we're rooted in a relative that others cannot yet see. They trust their own eyes more than the hearsay of the multitude. This is not arrogance. Arrogance is a shield used by the weak to hide their fragility. True self-reliance is humble. It is quiet. It does not need to shout "I am right," because it is not concerned with being right, it is concerned with being real. HT does not argue with the why. It simply holds its ground. The struggle we face is that we have been educated out of this natural trust. We have been taught that our intuition is just a feeling, that our personal experience is anecdotal, and that truth is something found in a textbook or a news report. We have surrendered our primary instrumenter, and awareness for a second map. To return to the self is to reclaim the instrument. It is to sharpen the blade of your own discernment. So, how do we endure this trial? How will we stop the trembling? We do it by understanding the physics of the mind. The mind trembles only when it is vivid. When one part of you wants to go left and another wants to go right, you vibrate, you freeze. Leaning is a symptom of this division. We lean because we don't trust our own legs. To stand straight is to unify the mind. It is to bring your desires, your action, and your thought into a single, coherent line. This unity cannot be given to you. No guru can grant it. No book can transmit it. It must be forged in the privacy of your own experience. You must be willing to endure the discomfort of not knowing the answer, of not having the reassurance until your own intelligence creates the solution. This is the only way true intelligence is formed. If you are always carried, your legs will never grow strong. If you are always given the answer, you might will never learn to hunt. The guidance you seek is starting manifestation presence that commands the room not through force but tripping us weight of fridge. But it is waiting on the other side of the prop. It is waiting for you to let go of the banister. It is waiting for you to realize that the ground beneath your feet is solid, and that you were built, soul by cell, soul by soul, to stand entirely on your own. When the mind finally sees its frantic grasping for external supports, a profound shift occurs. We enter the third and final phase of our journey, the return to the world, not as a needy fragment seeking completion, but as a whole, integrated for the entirety. This is where the true meaning of accomplishing great things is revealed. We discover that greatness is not a pride we wrestle from the hands of the world. It is the natural fright of a life that he's to stand tall. Consider the tree once more. When it stands straight, when its roots are deep and its trunk is sturdy, it shows not need to try to be great. It does not strain the priest's leaves. It's not whole committee meetings to decide how to photosynthesis. It simply is because it is fully itself, relying entirely on its own internal law. It produces shade for the weary, fruit for the hungry, orange might to high. Its contribution is an effortless byproduct of its structural interrelationship. This is the secret of why, or effortless action, found in the Taoist tradition. When we rely on ourselves, we stop forcing life. The anxiety of making it happen dissolves because we are no longer fighting its own grain. We are no longer wasting energy trying to prop a persona that isn't ours. All that energy, previously consumed by the fear of falling or the desperate need for approval, is now liberated. It flows naturally into our work, our relationships. We become capable of great sims not because we are grinding harder, but because we are no longer lacking power. The paradox here amounts to powerful only by learning to stand alone do we become truly capable of being with ours. A person who relies on themselves is a refuge. When you are no longer asking the world to hold you up, you become a place where others can rest. You become the sturdy oak in the forest of ancestors finds. Your relationships transform from transcendence of dependency to tense of abundance. You are no longer extracting validation, you are radiating presence. This is the mark of true leadership into creation. The great artist, the great leader, the great parent, they are all, at their core, people who have accepted the solitude of their own responsibility, of their endless divinity, SARS divinities of mind and farn. So, how do we integrate this into the rushing stream of our daily lives? We begin by trusting the inner law. Just as the tree has a genetic code that guides the light, you have an intuition, a curiosity, a distinct way of perceiving the world that is marred. Reliance on self means taking this inner signal seriously. When you feel a pull toward a certain subject, follow it even if no one else understands. When you feel a dissonance in a conversation, respect it even if everyone else is not. Stop treating your experience as a rote draft that needs an editor. Your experience is the final text. You will find that as you practice this vertical ligament, the great things you desire begin to manifest in unexpected anesthetics. You might not conquer nations, but you may conquer your own fear. You might not build an empire, but you may build a life of quiet, unshakeable day-to-day. And in a world that is constantly teetering on the edge of hysteria, a single human being who is calm, who is centered, who relies on their own dairies, on the rays, you become a spilling agent in the chaos. This path requires a gentle, persistent courage. It asks us to wake up every morning and reaffirm your stance. There will be days when the wind howls and you feel the urge to lean again. That is natural, but you will remember the feeling of your own spine. You will remember that you are designed for this crap. You will plant your feet, take a breath, and realize that you don't need to be held. You are the holder. You are the structure. And in that religion, you are free. Now, I invite you to close your eyes for a moment. Visualize your spine as the trunk of a great, ancient tree. Feel the roots extending from your feet deep into the earth, anchoring you in a strength that is entirely your own. Breathe into this vertical line. You are not waiting for permission to exist. You are here, upright and whole. Carry the stains with you.